I'm going to go ahead with the meeting beginning ritual. 起立，面向佛堂，参加先鞠躬，一鞠躬，再鞠躬，三鞠躬，参加各位的传习鞠躬，开班一鞠躬，请坐下。
Let's move on. So recently I've had some very wide-ranging discussions with people. People want to find out about, one of the most common questions I get is, hey, what is the difference between the Tao and Buddhism? Because here in the West, people are more familiar with Buddhism, but not as familiar with the Tao, and sometimes we'll conflate the two, we'll mix the two up together. And this also ties into a whole bunch of other discussions on the attitude toward fate. So the question was, do you fight fate or do you accept fate? So there's a very specific way that a Tao cultivator will look at that question. So before I reveal that to you, can I get some thoughts from everyone who's connected online? What do you think about that question? When it comes to fate, do you accept fate or do you fight it? If it is something that is not great, if it's something that's negative, is that something that you will resist, or is it something that you have to surrender yourself to? I think in the West we have a tendency to have a more combative attitude. Like you got to fight for your right to party. You got to fight for your right for this and that. So, and to clarify, I'm talking about fate as destiny, not faith. Not fighting the faith, fighting one's fate, F-A-T-E. So one answer is that I think I try to shape it. I think that's a very decent answer right there. Tao cultivators are not passive. They will. It's not the same as what we typically say is, oh, just go with the flow. Okay, so the Tao paradigm isn't going with the flow. It's more like there's a monster wave. I'm not going to let it wipe me out. I'm going to get on my surfboard and I'm going to ride it. So riding that monster wave is not accepting one's fate. It's also not fighting the wave. It's something in between. It's making use of this gigantic wave that's coming in. So another wise answer: you accept the situation and engage with it in the Tao. So, and this is when looking at the I Ching may help to see what a sage would do in a similar situation. Okay, excellent. I see that I'm on the right mental bandwidth with everybody, so this is resonating. And I have faith as something to go with and accept. Much can be learned from the experience, good and bad. And then I have from Caroline, I think you try to follow the Tao and deal with faith by following the path. You try to look at things realistically. And then from Chris, I'm not sure where I read it, but fate is what you let happen to you, but you should find your destiny to overcome fate. Okay, so a very good variety of response, of answers. The most important thing here is that you engage your mental faculties to think about this issue. It's very Tao to think about a question, to process it through your own experience, your own wisdom, to engage your mind. So now, let me share with you the attitude from a Tao perspective, from the Chinese culture perspective. So this is a common expression within Chinese culture, but it may not be something that you have ever heard. So in Chinese, it is 6 characters, 6 sounds. 尽人事，听天命. So this is how a Tao cultivator will regard fate. Okay? And there are equivalents in the Western culture as well, which I'll talk about in just a moment. For now, though, let me help decrypt the original characters, the 6 characters. It doesn't seem to be that difficult, right? So we start with the character Jin. This means to use up, to exhaust the possibilities of, to do everything, to explore all the options. Ren, this is the character for person, people, humanity, basically. Shi, this means affairs, tasks, things to do, things that we can do. So to exhaust all the things that we can do from the human perspective is to do everything we can as human beings. So that's the translation for that. Then the second line that you see here, the second set of 3 characters, Ting, this is the Chinese character for listen. Tian, this means heaven, sky or heaven. In this case, it means heaven. Ming means order, command. So together, it means that we do everything we can as human beings, and then we follow the dictates of heaven. So within these 6 characters, you see a proactive attitude to do something about the issue, to do what we can, and then you want to detach, not become overwhelmed by it, knowing that you have done the best you can, and then you follow whatever heaven dictates, whatever heaven commands. So you accept only after you have done everything you can. Then you accept what's going on. So none of the answers that people have provided to this question is necessarily wrong. It's just that you can see all these different aspects of thoughts are encapsulated in the 6 characters that you see here. Now, I mentioned that there are similar, wisdom and attitudes from Western wisdom traditions. And so let me give you an example. There is one expression you probably recognize. The expression is, do your best and let God do the rest. Sound familiar? Right? You do your best. That means you do everything you can as a human being, everything within your power to do. And following the dictates of heaven is matching, let God do the rest. Follow whatever the plan God has prepared for you. Now, this happens to be one of those expressions because it's really more classical Chinese than modern Chinese, modern Mandarin. So if you try to copy and paste these characters and get it translated with an automated system like Google Translate, something like that, you will get pretty bad results because the translation algorithms that we currently have don't really do too well with classical Chinese. So one example, so when this question was asked by a Mandarin-speaking person, and the question was, hey, is there a comparable English expression? How would you translate that? What is the best way to translate it? And then one person who answers in Chinese says, yeah, I found something in this online translation resource, and the English is as follows. Exerting the personnel listens to a day life. What? That doesn't even make any sense. So the exerting, that's the first character that says to, exhaust all the options, to do everything you can. The personnel is the second character there. That's because that character is a person or people. Then skipping over shi, the third character, going to the second line. Listen, okay, well, that's the first character there. Listen. And then tian is heaven. but the automated system translates it as a day. And that's because that character has the dual meaning of a day and sky. So 今天 means today, 明天 means tomorrow, etc. And then 命, well, with another character like 生命, it could mean life. So the result is gibberish from the automated system. So I hope that you will just take a look at the translation down here. And more importantly, I hope that you will adopt this attitude as your own. That when you encounter something, I would encourage you to not automatically say that, well, yeah, I have to learn to accept my fate. I would say, no. Do what a Tao cultivator would do. First, make sure that you are doing everything you can, that you have done everything you can. Okay? If you start out with thoughts of surrender or acceptance, you may not even explore all the different options that you possess. So you got to get the first 3 characters in there. Do everything you can, and then you can consider the acceptance, the graceful acceptance of the inevitable. We all have to gracefully accept certain inevitabilities in life, like the prospects of our own death. So, but in the meantime, you owe it to life itself to, as an example, to do everything you can to live as strongly and powerfully as you are capable of. You have to watch your exercise, your nutrition, your rest, in order to gain the best health that you are capable of achieving. That's doing everything you can as a human being to fully live out your life. Whatever longevity you are entitled to, you want to make sure that you thoroughly explore the possibilities to maximize that. Over here, I have a request to read the Chinese once again. So hold on, let me go back and do that for you. So the 6 characters in Mandarin are the following: 尽人事，听天命。尽人事，听天命. And it means to do everything we can as human beings within our sphere of influence, and then follow the dictates of heaven. So you can't go with the flow until you're sure that you have done everything that you can to make use of the flow, to ride the flow, as it were. Now, I call this the Tao paradigm because the conventional paradigm is not exactly like this, even though this is a very commonplace saying. The conventional paradigm has more in common with what we see when we talk about people praying for certain things to happen. So in the East, in Asia, you will, pretty much everywhere you go, you see the prevalence of the attitude that if you pray to the Buddha will come save you, or the Buddha will protect you. So the Buddha becomes like pretty much just another deity that offers personal protection, being your personal savior. So in that respect, not real different from the Christian faith, for instance. So most people are totally into that. And so the sutra that you have heard this morning before the meeting began, it was generally that kind of sutra. The Buddha Sutra would all talk about how the Buddha will come save you from calamities and so on. And the people who are doing the reading, they're all ethnically Chinese. They are not Chinese in the sense, most of them are not from mainland China. There's maybe a handful of people from mainland China, but they're mostly, the Tao cultivators are mostly from Taiwan and Vietnam, who are ethnically Chinese. So the Tao paradigm has more to do with If you follow the Tao, and remember the Tao is action-oriented, it has a part for contemplation. It also has a part for getting things done. If you follow the Tao, if you stay on the path, things will go smoothly. And the idea is that if you have done everything you can, then it will be as if heaven itself is coming to your aid, will come save you. You don't have to pray to heaven. You don't have to pray to the Tao. You just have to follow the Tao in your actions and your words. So this expression itself, notice that I want everyone to pay attention to how this expression, Tian is heaven. So people point to heaven when they look for some sort of divine guidance. But a deeper level of Tao wisdom, the advanced level of the Tao, will say that, no, that's not where divinity is. See, it's very common for us to look to heaven, to look up when we want to see or express something divine. So in the Western world, we talk about the man upstairs. God is the man upstairs. Well, why upstairs? Why not downstairs too? God is everywhere. Why not in the basement? God is everywhere. So not just inside the house, but also outside. Not just the basement, but also the attic, etc. So we have a tendency in the West, in the East as well, as human beings, we look up to the sky for something divine. That's where heaven is at. We look down below to the ground, to caves, as the setting for hell. Now, in reality, looking at the ground, looking at the earth itself, I would say that's actually divine. That's Mother Earth to all of us. It's the setting provided for all life. It gives us sustenance, gives us food, gives us shelter from the environment. And think about what happens when you get shelter, maybe a cave, maybe an overhang that protects you from a downpour. What's going on there? That's when the earth, the ground, is protecting you from the wrath of heaven, the elements, the rain, the snow, the storm, etc. So in that context, I can easily point to what is below. That's the good guy. And what is above, that's the bad guy. The earth is the hero and heaven is the villain, etc. So that the advanced level of the Tao is to point to that and say that, well, don't be stuck into that paradigm of heaven being divine and the earth being hellish for whatever reason. In reality, the Tao is everywhere. It's up above in heaven, and it's also down below. In fact, it can go very low. And in fact, when we talk about being low in the Tao, to be humble in the Tao, we often reference this advanced concept of the Tao to talk about how the Tao exhibits itself, manifests itself in the lowliest of the lowest. And there is a story from Zhuangzi about that. When we get to the end of this chapter, hopefully we will have a little bit more time, and I can tell you that story.
Let's go ahead and do the meeting ending ritual, everybody. 起立，面向佛堂，持架三鞠躬，一鞠躬，再鞠躬，三鞠躬，持架规则是一鞠躬，接班一鞠躬。Okay, everybody, we are done.
Participate in the Tao meeting by joining us online. For information, go to Taoism.net/Tao